the string for your URL. The deeper you're going into a server to get to something, the longer your string is going to be. It takes a really long time for it to read. Key point. What you have to realize is the public at this point has got a very short attention span and a very short patience. The fact is, if it starts to take too long, in their mind they're going to think it doesn't work. They're going to pass. Okay? What do? There is literally software. It's free software, by the way, that you can get that will take a very long URL and it'll sample it and it'll give you a much shorter version of that URL. Same thing, get you to the same place. But long strings don't make sense. And we're going to talk. I'll say this now, but I'll hit it again and again. The last thing you absolutely want to do is to send somebody to a website. Last thing. It's the wrong aspect ratio. Websites are designed either for 16:9 or 6:9. They're for monitors. What you absolutely want is to redesign this so that the aspect ratio is 3:3, 3:4. In other words, the size of a cell phone monitor. Which means it's very clear, much larger type, easy navigation, and take them to places where everything has been redesigned for a phone, a smartphone. Does that make sense? When you get to augmented reality, slightly different, because in augmented reality, you would prefer for people to view it on their monitor. You want them to get that beautiful wide picture. So, anyway, you missed a fabulous opening monologue. I slayed them.
Start over.
No, I can't. We laughed, we cried. You know how hard it was to get this side of the room to hold hands and sway? And then get this group with the lighters and stuff? They didn't like the lighter part. It was really icky, because we were sure it was going to set things off. Anyway, does that make sense? Okay, so there are production elements that you really want to make sure of. Yes, please.
I have a question. When you talk about Blackberries are not very conducive, what percentage of the cell phones out there, the old iPhones, the Blackberries, are not really geared for?
Most of them. That's the truth. Most of them.
10% of cell phones out there?
I would say, quite frankly, if you're looking at the Blackberries, I would say only the last year.
But cell phones in general, what percentage of cell phones out there? You know, people who have smartphones.
Yeah.
Who have smartphones, what percentage of them?
Well, actually, right now, the interesting thing was, for a long time, BlackBerry and Windows-based were a really, really small sliver, and I would say to you that, in fact, you were looking at primarily iPhones and Android phones, which probably took up about 85 to 90% of the market. So, but now what's happening is Windows is being much more aggressive with their phones, and now you're starting to see BlackBerry really trying to make a big push. You know, we're seeing problems, unfortunately, with RIM, with the parent companies. We don't know where they're going to go. They'll probably either get purchased, which is most likely because they own way too many patents. Right now, it's not, by the way, just as a quick sidebar, right now it's not about, if you buy a company like RIM, it's not because you want their equipment, because you've got much better equipment. It's the fact that they own hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of patents for the way that their operating system works, their screen works, etc. That's what you want to buy.
But the short answer to her question is most of cell phones, except BlackBerries.
Yeah, I would say the last.
Or the older iPhone.
Oh, well, iPhone has always been, if anything, you're not going to see too many people that have got the original iPhone. iPhone 3 still good, not great, but great in the older version. Almost all the Androids were great. So, please.
I got lost when you said the last thing you want to do is send people to your website. I'm not quite clear on that. So.
Okay, hold your thought. I'll show you.
Okay.
With pleasure. Please.
One thing about shortening the URLs.
Yeah.
Some government sites, particularly the military, they strip out all attachments. And therefore you actually want to have the long URL in there, because otherwise it will be right out of rejected.
Yeah, or better yet, what you want to do is to design a microsite that has been approved, legal, and is exclusively for the reception of and at that point you're designing to the 3:3 aspect ratio or 3:4, but you're not designing to that aspect ratio. There's nothing, and let me put it this way to you. Part of the frustration is you send somebody to a website that's got a wide aspect ratio, they're spending more time scrolling back and forth to try to view, you're going to lose their attention. It becomes frustrating. And the other part of it is 9 out of 10 times, the fonts that have been used for a website are not appropriate for a cell phone because they're too small. And what you're seeing are people spending more time double tapping their phone or spreading to try to read it. It's not supposed to be an effort. This has got to be quick, clean, easy, accessible. It needs to be a pleasure. The more times it is a pleasure, the more time they will come back to you. But if they find that they're spending too much time, you've lost them. Yeah, and I would share with you, keep in mind one thing. The biggest challenge we have right now in marketing is attention span. It is getting somebody's attention, holding somebody's attention. Frustration rates are very high. If somebody feels that they're furnishing too much effort for you to make it your piece work, not going to happen. Unless they really, really want this. Cool? Any other questions? And I'm glad. Please ask as much as you want, because I think we all learn from one another. Anyway, this was the big challenge. In the United States and North America, when we started doing QR codes, everybody tried to make money on QR code generation. And it was like, that's not how it's going to work. You know, the first thing that we learned, in fact, from the Pacific Rim was, this is a portal. It gets you to the commerce where the revenue is at. You don't make money from this. This is literally a picture of what was available to us 7 years ago, 6 years ago. It was confusing. In my phone at one time I had 9 different QR code readers. I was like, really? Come on. And you would try reading like B-tag, or you had to have the B-tag reader. If you wanted to read, like the data matrix, you needed their QR code reader. What's happening is, like everything, we're trying to get to a universal. We're trying to have universal codes. And the fact is, we're pretty close. I would share with you, we're really down to about 3 codes that everybody, any scanner can read. If you don't have the app in your phone already, the easiest thing to do is go to your app store in your phone and type in QR code reader, QR code scanner. It will take you directly to the site for your phone, and it will download it. Or if you want to Google it or Yahoo it, type in QR code scanner, QR code reader, and what kind of phone you have, LG, whatever, Samsung, and it'll be, because what you need is the software that's going to be appropriate first for your camera, your lens, and your Wi-Fi connector. So ultimately, these are really the ones. Now, the data matrix, really the oldest, but it's industrial. It's superb, in fact, where you're going to see this is going to be on labels, where you want to do inventory control, things like that, as opposed to like RFID, which is a very different technology. But this is superb because, like as an example, a manufacturer in this code can tell you what plant it was made, on what day, on what machine, at what position in the machine, an enormous amount of data. That otherwise we would have had to have had codes for, long strings. Really wonderful for inventory control. I'm going to go to BTAG because you don't see it as much anymore, but it was really important. BTAG is the first one that actually incorporated illustration and animation. You can see who the target audience is. They definitely felt that it was going to be a younger demographic, be a lot of fun. This is, to me, in my opinion, perfect for cereal boxes, you know, toys, that kind of stuff. Very inviting, very fun, but it taught us something. First of all, it could be in color, and secondly, they were the first ones that really said, why not have pictograms? Why not have illustrations? Why not making fun? Because I got to tell you something. As much as I love the standard QR code, it's clunky, it's ugly, you know. And I'm saying this is a designer, and I'm going to show you when I say that. I can only say that because I'm going to show you some stuff that I think you'll really like. But QR standard really is the universal for all. Microsoft, what's also known as the microtag sort of condensation. You always recognize it because it's got the strengths of the triangles. And then ScanLife Easy Code becoming more and more popular. Full disclosure, the president of ScanLife and Interlink One and I are good friends. So while I speak highly of him, I sought him out because I really loved his product. Okay. If you're not familiar, and you want absolutely superb information, I can invite you more warmly, go to www.interlink1.com. There's tons of white papers that you can download, lots of great case studies, a lot of really wonderful guidelines on how to, and they've got one of the quickest, fastest code generators. I mean, we could all, right now, if you want to just go on your phone or go on your laptop, go to their site, you could have a QR code in seconds. And in fact, I highly recommend all of you at this point should have your own personal QR code. And have some fun with it, you know, put something in there, cocktail, you know, shaker, you know, sports car, whatever you are. There was a question? Yeah, please.
I understand that the QR codes are mostly to go to websites.
Say that again, please.
I understand that QR codes are to go to websites or
Yes.
places to get
Microsites, yeah.
The first one, data matrix, the way you described it,
Yeah.
looked to me more like a barcode.
It is,
So
absolutely.
is it both a barcode and?
Think of it as, really think of it as a two-dimensional barcode.
So barcode.
It's really industrial.
Okay.
Instead of it being the lines
Yeah.
giving you, because keep in mind one thing, typically when you see the lines, it's really just giving you numbers that typically are SKU numbers, or they are an industrial code. This is exactly the same thing, but it's kicked it up because instead of it just being linear, it's two-dimensional, and by being two-dimensional, it gives you a wealth of information that can be extremely helpful for things like inventory control, shipping, those kinds of things. So,
But this one doesn't go to a website or a microsite.
it would go to a proprietary site, typically. Data matrix would almost always have its own reader. You would get a generator and a reader. Can you get a code reader for data matrix for your phone and stuff? Yeah, but you're really looking at a lot of information. So, yeah. So let's talk about this. What's the difference between them? Why would we want this? Let me talk about the micro tag, because it really starts to talk more about us as marketers and merchandisers. Microsoft was brilliant. Now, it's Microsoft, right? So you're looking at it at a huge corporate level. Let me share something with you about the micro tag that really tells us what the potential is. From the time you scan a micro tag, the first thing that it's done, it has captured your phone number. It knows exactly who you are. Okay, it doesn't know who you are by name, but it knows who you are by number. In fact, the phone number is captured. If I wanted to ping you back and say, thank you very much for visiting our website, I could do it. Does that make sense? Here's where it gets interesting. First thing it does is it captures your phone number. Second thing it does, it uses the GPS in your phone to identify your geolocation. So, from an analytics perspective, if I had put this out into a major magazine, major newspaper, whatever, and I've got all these people scanning, within a matter of moments, I could tell you geographically where my breakout is in terms of usage. I could come to you right away and say, huge response in the Northeast, not so good in the South, not bad on the West Coast, etc. Does that make sense? More importantly is this. As soon as you have clicked onto it, the beauty of it is we can tell you how long you stayed at the site, what links you went to, how long you stayed on those links. We're literally tracking and following until you sign off. The beauty of this is, from a merchandising and marketer's perspective, it really gives me the client experience. It gives it to me as analytics. I can create certain metrics that I would like to be able to capture. You know, it's not going to give me things like demographics. I don't know who the phone caller is, so I don't know if it's male or female, what the age is, but it lets me see what the user experience has been. Please.
You're talking about a micro tag?
Yeah.
What's the difference between what you're saying now as far as capturing data and having QR code go back to, say, a landing page for any of the softwares that are out there? Is it the same thing, or?
Well, the thing is, if you were to use a standard code,